Up on the mountain, my Lord spoke, out of his mouth came fire and smoke. Looked all around me, it looked so fine, till I asked my Lord if all was mine. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Jordan River is chilly and cold. It fills the body, but not the soul. There ain't but one train upon the track. It runs to heaven and runs right back. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray.
Well, good morning, Unity of Charlotte.
Morning.
Let's say that again. Good morning, Unity of Charlotte.
Good morning.
There you go. Love to feel that vibration of energy. Are you ready to have a wonderful day today?
Yes.
You are in the right place. Welcome, welcome. My name is Reverend Sally Robbins, and we are blessed that you could join us today. We're so happy to have you with us. We also want to welcome all of those who are joining us via Access 21, YouTube, however you are finding us. We're glad you're here. So for those of you that are thinking, well, what is Unity? If you're relatively new to us, Unity is also called practical spirituality. And it's a progressive approach based upon the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We teach the effective daily application of the principles of truth taught by the great way shower, Jesus Christ. We promote a way of life that leads to health, prosperity, happiness, and peace of mind. And who doesn't want more of that? Can I get an amen on that? Yes. All right. And Unity of Charlotte, our personal mission here is to nurture a deep, mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. So we're so glad you're here with us on this journey. If you're joining us for the very first time today, welcome, a very special welcome. Please sit back and relax and enjoy yourself as our guest. If you missed getting a welcome packet coming in, all you have to do is when you go out to the hallway after the service, just look for somebody with a blue tag on their name, or blue ribbon on their name tag. They're the specially trained ninja warriors of welcoming. And they just can't wait to welcome you and tell you how glad they are that you are here and give you one of those aforementioned welcome packets. If you are in need of spiritual support, you can also place a prayer request in our Ministry of Prayer box. It's also located in the foyer out there. Or you can go online. Did you know that? You can go onto our website and you can fill out your prayer request. It'll go confidentially to Reverend Marty, and he will make sure that you are being prayed up. We'll have our opening prayer, and I invite you, if you're comfortable, just close your eyes. Let's all take a deep breath in. Let it out. Another cleansing breath in. Let it out. And as you just focus on your breathing, I invite you to let go of all that it took to get here this morning. Maybe there was some hustle and bustle, some things that you're worrying about that you have to do when you leave. Just leave that at the door right now. Set that aside and focus on being fully present in this moment, right here. Feel this chair supporting you beautifully. Feel your breath moving in and out. And turn inward to that place of peace and power that resides within you no matter what is happening in your world. For this is what I know. And I invite you to silently claim this with me. I am that great I am. I am the oneness in which I know resides within me, without me, all around me, and is me. I am the power, grace, and beauty that shows up as me in this world. I am, without a doubt, all that is and all that ever will be is enrobed within me right now. Every bit of strength that I ever need, every bit of wisdom that I will ever need, every answer to every question that I will pose is here right now. And so I simply let go and recognize that which is within me, that is breathing me, moving me, guiding me, directing me. That which is here, always within, is that perfect peace, perfect power, abundance, perfect health. All of that I could ever want is already here. I simply let go and allow Spirit to use me in ways that I couldn't have even dreamed of. I let go and let Spirit guide my path, knowing that every obstacle is being removed right now. And I claim right now that life can be easy. The challenges are there simply to help me flex my spiritual muscles, and I say yes to all that is coming my way, knowing that I have whatever it takes to move forward and through it. And so I know that the obstacle is the way. I simply surrender. I let it be so. And together we say, and so it is.
Listen to my heart song. 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 I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen to my heart song. 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 I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen to my heart song. 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 I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee.
I will never forsake thee.
I will never forget thee.
I will never forsake thee.
Today, I awaken to my divine potential. Spirit within me guides my sacred journey. I honor my past, celebrate my future, and live in the present. My life continually expands in ways of joy. Today, I awaken to my divine potential. Thank you. This month we're doing a series on the parables to awaken your soul. And so I thought I'd read you a parable. Clever, huh? Some of you may have read this before. This comes from Matthew 13:10. And it says, the disciples came to him and asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" And he replied, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even that they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Through hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be even hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For the people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and they would heal them. But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but do not hear it." So taking a moment to hear beyond the words and to see beyond the seeing, we take this moment to recognize that we are all a part of an infinite intelligence, and that there are levels and degrees and levels of awareness. So those who do not see may see with their eyes, but do not see with their mind. Those that hear may hear with their ears, but not with their heart. We are called to open to those higher levels of awareness, to that remembrance of our divine origin, to our oneness with God. And so as we come together this day, we do so with open hearts, with open minds, with a willingness to know the truth and to allow that truth to set us free. How grateful I am for this opportunity to be together in the living Spirit, joined in collective consciousness, seeking to know that truth more fully and express it more freely. And so it is. Amen. Beautiful. Thank you. How are you? Sure? You want another shot at it? How are you? Okay, just checking. Just like to know if you're awake. You know, we can go either way. So, new month, new beginning, new life. I've been just in an interesting place in the journey, and so I'm always grateful to return back to Scripture. You know, it's funny because there was a point in my life where I said, I'm done, glad I don't have to do that anymore, right? I grew up with a Bible and studied and learned and did not understand. At least I understood at one level. I don't want to make it sound like I didn't get anything. When I came around to this way of thinking, then the Bible that I had learned as a child took on a whole new level of understanding and meaning. And I always, you know, Jesus says a lot, let those that have eyes to see, see, and ears to hear, hear. It's like, I got eyes, I got ears. What? Right? Didn't get it. So it turns out he was talking about a deeper level of understanding. Who knew? Right? And so this month we're going to just explore some of these parables for the understanding and awareness of what they're teaching us, of what we're seeking. You see, you can read Mark Twain. You know, Huckleberry Finn, great book, great adventure, lots of fun things happen in that story, right? And that's one level to read it, great adventure. There's other levels of that book that help us understand who we were at that time and the things that were going on in our time and what. So there was a message behind the message. The disciples came to Jesus and said, why are you always doing this? Why are you speaking in parables? Why don't you just tell them how it is? And he said, this is where this line was first famous. It became famous again later. Because you can't handle the truth. Little known biblical fact. I just like to throw these in from time to time. You know, right? Because he was saying they can't hear it. Have you noticed that? Perhaps you've had this experience. Somebody was just telling me about visiting family. And they had a conversation. What is unity? And they explained. Unity is practical Christianity. Well, their sensors went up. What you mean, this practical? So, you know, they were coming from a different point of view. And so, as I understand it, the conversation went on. I've had similar conversations where you try and explain, and you realize this is not going anywhere, right? This is not going anywhere. So my feeling is, let it go, right? We do not need to be right. We only need to know what we know and live what we know. And hopefully by our example, people are attracted to what we know and want to know more. I've yet to see a religious conversation really come to new result unless it was set up in a context where it was about dialogue and not debate. So we do not need to be right. I'm not even saying I'm right, because 5 years from now I may be teaching a newer, hopefully higher version of truth. We are all where we need to be right when we need to be there. I'm grateful for my upbringing, even though even as a child I had questions about this God that would reward some and punish others, that would send some to heaven and others to hell. For me, that made no sense. Luckily, my parents divorced and we didn't have to go to church anymore. You know? There was some trauma around that, but nonetheless, you know, there's always that silver lining. And so I didn't have to be exposed, you know, I didn't have to ask those questions and not get answers. And so at that young and tender age, I decided that I was not a person that did church. I'm done. Really well, as you can see. Really well. Still not going to do it, right? Which is almost inevitable. That's just like, I always joke that when you say never to the universe, you've just put a bullseye on your back and it's heading your way, right? I was never going to live in L.A. I was never going to become a minister. So, of course, I moved to L.A. to become a minister, right? You know, it's just like line them up and watch them fall. But the thing I would have us understand is we don't have to be right in this. In fact, that's part of the challenge. For me, even as a child, I believed that good people believed in something greater than themselves, but they had a different understanding of it. So the senselessness of arguing over it was senseless. Never made sense to me. And yet many of the great wars and struggles we've had as humanity has been around religious ideas. All from a God that says, love one another. Treat others as you would be treated. So it is never my idea to make anyone wrong, but to look at this at a deeper level. For me, I'm working from a book, a lovely book called The Hidden Parables, written by Todd Michaels. I don't want to call him Michael, it's Todd Michaels. And just a wonderful understanding of how to understand, how to interpret these ideas that are contained. And he says to us, first of all, there are some secrets of the ages. They're passed down. Those of us that know these secrets then begin to see them in traditions. But he says the first secret is that our attitudes, our visualizations, and our intentions to have the power to change reality. Now, this is so second nature to all of us that have studied this for a while. We don't even stop long enough to really think about what that means. But that our thoughts, our beliefs, our intentions, our visualizations have the power to change our reality. That mind over matter is a process that can be learned and managed. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that as you've become more conscious of your thinking, more aware of your patterns of speech and behavior and all of that, that your reality begins to shift. Your reality begins to change. You begin to attract into your life different kinds of people, different situations, circumstances that support who you are. Now, here's what I know. We have been doing this all of our life. We have always had the power. It's not like we go take a class with Reverend Marty and learn the secrets of the universe, and then everything changes because now we know something we didn't know. We have always had the capacity to create our reality. But it's only successful people that will admit it, right? People who are failing usually have a reason, and it's not them. You may know some of these people. We're not having confessional Sunday or anything. I'm just saying, you may know some of these people. That everything that happens in their life is not their fault. It's the government, it's the political parties, it's the whatever. Those of us who would have eyes to see and ears to hear would hear these words and understand that the power that we have to set an intention that directs what comes into our life experience. It's a powerful, powerful tool. He says the second thing, that of all of the attitudes, all of the intentions that are available to humanity, attitudes of kindness and generosity, the mindset of love is the most important. So for all of our getting, get understanding. For all of our working with these powers, with these laws of mind, they need to be rooted fundamentally and deeply in the presence of love and compassion. So Jesus, I believe, was teaching us these two powerful tools in all of his teachings. He was teaching us that we had a power to connect with the divine. We had a power to set intention. We had a power to create a life experience. And that most importantly, we wanted to come from a place of love in all things. And that when we were not loving, then we might want to try this little thing called forgiveness. Because if you think about it, all forgiveness is returning to love. Right? We're saying, I will no longer hold you or myself hostage to a limiting belief or an unskilled behavior. I will no longer hold you or myself hostage to that, but rather I will choose love. Now, this does not necessarily mean that we now condone the behavior. You see, people are different from their behavior. Jesus was teaching us that each of us at a soul level are divine beings. We are one with the infinite intelligence. We are created in the image and likeness of love and joy and beauty and peace. And that is inherently who we are. And then we make up a whole bunch of stuff to hide that. We forget that. And so we move through the world and the ego starts to get engaged. And then the ego thinks that it can just control things. And if it can control enough, we can have what we want. Course in Miracles has this wonderful ongoing study of understanding love or ego. When are we in that place of fear? When are we in that place of controlling? When are we in that place of wanting to make it different? From moving into the state of awareness that recognizes that we can simply allow God to be God in all things. That there is a presence, there is a power, there is an infinite being that is pure love. And it is the source of who we are. And when we connect with that presence and with that power, then our life unfolds differently. So speak to me. I'm going to grab some water here. Oh, look, there's water right there. Thank you. Pause. Think about what I just said. Talk amongst yourselves. Right? So, two simple principles. We have the power to create, and the highest power we have is the presence of love. So, in this passage, I want you to hear this. Because the knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. In other words, you're my disciples. You're in a learning process. You are becoming more aware. You are evolving as a human being. These who have not done that now won't understand these words. His responsibility is to teach it in such a way that they can hear. And then he goes on to say this. Whoever has will be given more. Yay. But whoever has not, even that will be taken away. Well, that doesn't seem very fair. All I got is this little bit, and you're going to take that away? What's up with that? I remember as a child thinking, well, that really doesn't seem very fair. Here we're saying be kind and feed the poor and do all these things, and yet here's this passage that says if you don't have it, it's going to be taken away from you. until I understood the principles of consciousness. And so what he's saying to us is, if we have a consciousness of a thing, let me just stop for a second. Consciousness then is the sum total of our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings that make us who we are. Consciousness evolves as our thinking and understanding grows. And so if we have the consciousness of the thing, then we will bring the thing into our experience. You may have heard of a little book that was out in a video called The Secret. A few people watched it, right? And it gave us a very simple thing to say, if you can imagine it, it's yours. There's a whole lot of fine print, but let's just go with that. Right? There's some other stuff that has to happen, but it's true. You see, if we have the consciousness of the thing, because we live in a universe that is based upon spiritual law, it is attracting that to us, which resonates with our current level of belief and understanding. Now, there's no good or bad about it. We add that. And so we're always attracting into our experience something that is reflective of who we are. As I said recently, when we start to understand this, rather than going to the mirror and seeing that our hair is a mess and trying to figure out how to fix the mirror, we realize we just got to straighten out our hair. Internally, we must do the same thing. Because if the universe is reflecting back to us what is our current level of awareness and understanding, then it's outpicturing in form. And then we sometimes think, well, if I could just change the form, then I would have a different experience. Now, lo unto you that believe that to be true. Anybody ever had the experience where you've really worked for something, it came into being, and you were like, ugh. This? I really thought it'd be better. I thought it'd be different. Or we said, boy, if I only had more money, then life rocks. And you get there and you go, well, I'm still miserable. So how much do you have to get before you're not miserable? I would say perhaps we should work on being less miserable, and then see what happens in the rest of our life. It's interesting. I've been fortunate over the years to meet very many people with wealth. And it was always kind of fascinating to get to know people as people and find out more about them. And what I discovered is there's some really amazing rich people. Really amazing. Kind, generous, sweet. There's some really not nice rich people. Right? So it is not that they had money that somehow made them different. As Will Smith says, that all money does is amplify who you are. If you're a jerk now, and you get a lot of money, you can be a really big jerk. Good on you. Good on you. Right? It doesn't circumvent the laws of karma, but good on you. Have fun. But for those of us that understand that who we are is only amplified, then we continue to use our resources in such a way that to continue to fulfill who we are. And so if we're joyous and kind and loving and generous now, it only makes sense that we would be more so as more resources are given to us. So those who have not, that too shall be taken away. Right? I often use the example of people who come into great wealth unexpectedly or in a short-term basis. And so you read the statistics of people who win the lottery because, right? Doesn't everybody want to win the lottery? Come on, let's be honest. Yes, we all do, right? Whether we play it or not, we all would think that's a lovely idea. What I could do with an extra 100 million, right? Don't forget your church. Just want to always get that plug in. Let's talk tithing, Just want to make sure we're on the same, You're going to put a request in our ministry of prayer. Let's just have an understanding. Right? But we have that idea that more would create something, and so these people have this wealth come into their lives, but not the consciousness or the skills. And so studies show that within a matter of years, they're typically in the same situation, sometimes worse, than when they won the money. The money did not change the thing. Sometimes, Reverend Sally, you may have had this experience where you've had people come and they want to pray with you and they want to create the perfect mate. They're ready. And so we do our work and we're knowing that right and perfect mate comes into their life and they're there, and a few weeks later, a month later, they come in and they're like, oh my goodness, I met him, her. Oh, so fabulous. 6 weeks later, they're back in the office trying to how to rid themselves of this miraculous discovery. Right? How do we do now, right? You see, because we're always attracting, we think we know. So when we understand this is not about a power outside of ourselves taking our good away. It's just to say, if we have not the consciousness of the thing, we cannot hold on to the thing itself. In modern lingo, we call it sabotaging ourselves. It's a good term, why not? Right? But it's just the understanding that if I don't have the awareness, the being, or even at some deeper level, the feeling of worth and deservability, then if too much comes into our life and it's more than where our thermostat is set, then the thermostat says we got to dial this down. It's all happening unconscious. All happening at a subconscious level. So that's why we come back to this awareness and understanding that all of the work that we're first doing in prayer, in meditation, in spiritual practice. We're willing to release those limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. We're willing to embrace a greater possibility, a greater love, a greater understanding. You see, I see it as a spiral. You see, we're here, and we just don't stair-step up to the next level. That'd be nice. It'd be nice to go, okay, I'm at level 1, next week I'll be at level 2, next week, 6 weeks, enlightenment. Hello. Heal the sick, walk on the water, it's good. But rather, there's a spiral that we go through, right? And so sometimes we return to subjects. So, it's time to learn more about love. I thought I was there, but I'm not there. Time to learn about forgiveness. I thought I was there, but I am not there. But we're always evolving upward, becoming more aware. And as we do so, we create new experiences, new opportunities, new way of being in the world, new ways of experiencing this. See, these teachings have been given us in many ways, many paths, many teachers. In the Kabbalah, the tradition, the Jewish tradition, the mystical tradition of the Kabbalah, which teaches mystical doctrines and techniques. Michael Berg has this distillation of the essence of the Kabbalah, and what he says is the only way to achieve the joy and fulfillment is by becoming a being of sharing. Becoming a being of sharing. You see, I believe that we are here on this planet not only to grow, but to serve. We are here together to share of our light, of our love, of our good. And that ultimately, it does not matter. Let's say that differently. Ultimately, we give it all back anyways. So you create a vast estate, gazillions of dollars. That's fun. What do you do with it? Just watching this story this week of LeBron James, my hero. Now, I'm not a real basketball guy. I'm not really a sports guy. Big shock. But, basketball to me is they run this way and then they run that way. Somewhere somebody wins, everybody claps, right? So I'm not all that into it. But I like people. And so here's this amazing athlete, but for me, an amazing man who's created phenomenal wealth and now has decided to give. He's always done this, but now his latest project, if you haven't heard this, he's opened the I Promise School in Akron, Ohio. All these kids who are just like him, who come from troubled circumstances, have an opportunity to discover who they are and to give their gifts. And so he has made sure that not only does every kid get the education, they also have a bike to get to school. And that if they complete the program and they live the I promise, they get a college education. He didn't have to do that. But you see, I think he understands that the fulfillment of our life is not what we get, but rather what we give. I've done a lot of memorial services in my day. And I've yet to have a thing that we're like, wow, can you believe Bob created a $100 million estate? Wow, he was really something. It never even comes up. People talk about the way they touched their heart, the piece of advice they were given, the ways that they were changed by being in relationship with this person. In the end, what matters is how do we show up in the world? So that being of sharing, yes, go forth, accomplish, create, fulfill your desires, fulfill your dreams, fulfill your calling. Be as successful as you can, but recognize success is not only defined by money, but the totality of who we are. The totality of who we are defines our success, or at least for me. The Essenes, who were a mystical group of folks hanging out in the time of Jesus, some say that Jesus was influenced by their teachings, had some beautiful and wonderful understanding. And he's in one of the Lost Gospels of the Essenes. It's a beautiful passage, but just to highlight it, it says, Blessed is the child of light, who is wise of mind, for he or she shall create heaven. The mind of the wise is a well-plowed field, which gives forth abundance and plenty. This is 2,000 years ago. The mind of the aware, we'll have a whole parable on this, is a well-plowed field. We have at our disposal this amazing capacity we call our mind. But some of us don't tend the garden. We don't pay attention to what's being planted there. Again, lots of parables around gardening. Turns out it's not homes and gardens talk. This is about us, right? But to be aware that we have a garden called our mind, that we get to decide what goes in or at least what stays there. As you know, sometimes weeds show up, but we pluck the weeds. But we can plant on a daily basis seeds of love, seeds of joy, seeds of compassion, seeds of understanding. And when the harvest comes, it looks just like what we have planted. How beautiful is that? So to know the mysteries is to know our thoughts and intentions form our personal reality. We can create and enter higher thoughts and create higher levels of reality. You know, I love animals. And one of the things I discovered about my dogs over the years is they hear stuff I don't hear. Right? They hear stuff I just don't hear. You ever get a dog whistle? You blow the thing, you're like, what was that? But they hear it, right? Because they're aware of a higher dimension, a higher frequency. Likewise, human beings are aware of higher dimensions. Jesus was resonating at that highest level that allowed him to embody the consciousness of Christ's consciousness and to teach and heal from that level. And people, by their exposure and experience of him, had healings and still do. We would say he's not that different from us, except that he's evolved to that level of understanding. So it makes sense when he says they don't hear because they don't have ears to hear. They don't see because they don't have the eyes to see. But you, my friends, all of you who are willing to enter in that higher dimension will have higher states of awareness, higher states of joy, and sometimes deeper states of sorrow. Just need to know that too. It expands in all ways. But we know who we are. And we move confidently through the world from that understanding. Let your heart be opened. Let your mind be full. Let your ears hear and your eyes see, that you might enter this dimension from a place of understanding, that greater works than these you shall also do. Let us pray. So we just anchor ourselves in this moment. Breathing in, releasing the breath. So we breathe in, we see the breath going down the spine and then back up and out on the out breath. It's harmonizing our divine energies. As we recognize and know that indeed we live, move, and have our very being in this presence, this power, this oneness. And whether we call it God or 10,000 other names, it is the same. We know that we live, move, and have our being, that the life that we live is in truth the one life living itself through us. We open our hearts, we open our ears, we open our eyes to know the truth. And we speak the word of truth as we recognize that right here, right now, we are divine beings, spiritually whole and perfect. And we call that forth. We call forth greater awareness, greater understanding, greater realization. We speak the word of truth as we know that wholeness is the divine order of things, and we allow that wholeness to reveal itself through every cell and every system of our physical, mental, emotional being. We speak the word of truth as we know right here and right now that we are abundant beings, because we are one with the source and the substance of all that is. And so joyously we give and graciously we receive of this divine bounty. We know that indeed the only reality is one of love, divine love, which delights by pouring itself into existence. And as we take a deep breath and breathe in that awareness down the spine and back out of who we are, love's expression, love longing to know itself, we find it easy to forgive those who we perceived have harmed us. We find it easy to forgive those who have harmed us and they live in our mirror. We find it easy to release those limiting ideas and embrace in the fullness of being this divine love expressing everywhere. We know that we are whole, that we are healed. And I invite you, if there is a burden on your heart this morning, that simply bring it to the altar of truth, the consciousness of knowing. That if it has served its purpose, let us release it. Let us learn, let us grow. We are blessed. And because we are blessed, we extend a blessing. We start with this very community, Unity of Charlotte. We know that this is a divine idea unfolding perfectly, divinely guided and abundantly supplied in all of its work. We extend our blessing to our brothers and sisters in our local community, in our nation, in the world. We know that there is really only one race, which is the human race. So we bless our brothers and sisters around the planet. We hold a high intention for a planet at peace and a world that works for all. We bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith, for we know there are many pathways to the divine, and therefore we honor and celebrate them all. How good it is to know this truth. And by the consciousness that we have established here, operated upon by a law of mind bringing forth that greater good, we simply give thanks, we rejoice, we allow it to be so. As together we say, and so it is. Amen.
We need strength to carry on down low.
Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. Road is rocky and the way is dark. A money to bring our salvation. Every word has a different fork. A money to bring our salvation. Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. Hallelujah, hallelujah. A money to bring our salvation. Hallelujah, hallelujah. A money to bring our salvation. Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. Grant us peace, give us courage. A money to bring our salvation. A money to bring our salvation. A money to bring our salvation. A money to bring our salvation.
So we invite you to join us for potluck after the service. We invite you to take the workshop next week. This will be my last chance to plug my class. Not my class, it's our class, helping us move into this new model, which is radically different. You may have noticed we talked about codependency, co-creation, all kinds of stuff that you don't normally hear in church. Just kidding. All right. So, and it's only the investment of your time. So imagine getting me for 3 weeks for just the investment of your time, right? Yeah. I know, I'm saying. So please stand and join me as we do our affirmation. We're going to do something magnificent. Follow along after me. Do what I do. Have fun. Something magnificent is happening through me right now.
Something magnificent is happening through me right now.
It is happening through my mind.
It is happening through my mind.
Through my body. Through my affairs. I think it. I believe it. I accept it. I rejoice in it. I name it good and very good. Thank you, God. And so it is. Have a blessed week.